We all love video game power-ups, but like, what? I regret the day I began to develop critical thinking skills because how does this even function on a scientific level? Like, what biochemical nonsense is happening here? Does Mario just have a glucose spike higher than the Empire State Building? I mean, his telomeres would be sprinting to their death, aging him by decades in milliseconds. The growing pains alone would obliterate his spine, and when he gets hit, by the way, he doesn't just shrink. His entire body reverses cell development. That's not a power down, that's a fucking cellular time machine. Alright, you know what? Maybe that's not the weirdest one. Actually, as a matter of fact, I outright know it isn't. Oh, and just as a side note, I'm not gonna go on some massive tangent giving you a world history crash course on Mario like some video essays do where they go,
Mario has had many power-ups over the course of his many years as the face of game.
yeah, no, that's the same bullshit as Sonic had a rough transition into 3D. Alright, actually, as another small side note, I'm sorry, why do video game essays specifically have the most mind-numbing topics and titles? Like, dude, just the other day I saw a title that said, why you should play video games on the weekends. Like, no shit, dog, I work a full-time job and have college. That's about the only option I have. Nothing against the content creator, by the way, these people mean no harm, but seriously, I'm tired of seeing why you should analyze Geralt's left ass cheek in The Witcher 3, and why the evil route in video games is boring. Excuse me, sorry, have you played Saints Row? Anyways, let's talk about the Mega Mushroom because, oh my god, what is happening to his body? Remember how I talked about the cellular time machine with just the basic mushroom? Yeah, imagine that but 50-fold. Also, how is Mario not destroying his vocal cords during this process? I mean, dude, I would be crying like a toad on Tuesday if this happened to me. It almost makes the massive size, hold on, let me... the gigantic stature you receive not worth it at all. In a way, this very starkly reminds me of the Far Cry 2 protagonist who does shit like this and does not let out a single peep, not one. Oh yeah, let's not forget about the Fire Flower. Somehow Mario leaped between universes and landed in Hogwarts, learned Incendio, became a Death Eater, somehow learned Advercadabra or whatever. Then went back to World 1-2 and used those sons of bitches to kill a couple hopes and dreams. Like breaking the bad news to some poor Make-A-Wish kid who doesn't want to die a virgin. And to be quite honest, me and the Fire Flower have quite the history. I remember when I was but a wee little duckling when my aunt decided to introduce me to Mario on the NES as my first real video game. If we are not counting Doom on my dad's 600-year-old laptop that coughed up blood loading the user select screen. At the time, I quite literally had zero clue on what the B button was, so the Fire Flower basically got demoted to a flashy skin until my aunt decided to school me a little bit. Oh yeah, did I mention she knows every single trick to Mario 3? Yeah, me either, until she showed me how to skip 90% of the game and gave me lasting PTSD on World 8. Anyways, it's actually an incredibly useful power-up, but it makes me wonder why Bowser doesn't just take one for himself. I mean, this dude can already survive lava and breathe out fire, so what's so hard about shooting it from your hands at the same time? Why not have Bowser use different power-ups in a fight, and why do I hear that game designer position at Nintendo calling my name? Also, just as another side note, was Mario going through his emo phase in Mario 3? Like, what happened here? Are you okay, buddy? While we're stuck on the topic of Fire Flowers, we can't just ignore the literal fabric of reality altering itself in a jiffy. No, I mean, seriously, Mario's clothes just became a fancy red and white outfit. Not to mention that when Mario gets slapped 6 ways till Sunday, he loses this fabric and returns to his base form. I'm not sure whether or not that's just a coincidence or if Mario's enemies hit him with such a force that they can alter reality. Actually, what's even crazier is that most of his enemies don't even try to touch his greasy ass. It takes Mario running into them for him to die or deform. So that in turn raises a more important question. What kind of interdimensional drug do these Goombas hit to make them this powerful? That even touching them causes reality to alter? That would easily power scale them to like 1C or something. I don't know. I'm not an anime watcher or a power scaler because I do a nasty, disgusting, and predatory ritual called taking a shower and exercising. Moving on to our next power-up, we have the Mini Mushroom, and if you thought the mushroom looked painful, then this is akin to stubbing your toe on the end of a paper clip and having it slide beneath your nail. Unless Mario hopped universes again, landed in Night City, installed a couple paint editors, and then hopped back, I don't see how his body, let alone the cartilage in his kneecaps, doesn't look like this by now. For those of you who have never had a decent childhood, the Mini Mushroom basically allows Mario to shrink. You know what, never mind, just use your eyeballs and observe. I don't have the energy for this shit. But yes, if we were to measure the difference in height between between Big Mario, Little Mario, and Mini Mario, I think it would be accurate to say that the Mini would be significantly worse to undergo. This shrinkage alone demands a greater change in size than the mushroom. This isn't even counting instances where Mario could possibly acquire one of these and undergo the equivalent of beating the Bloody Palace on Dante Must Die mode. Then there's the Starflower. Oh boy. So let's go ahead and address the fact that Mario's eyes are now covered in that galaxy gas. And to a fault of my own imagination, I drew this Microsoft Paint thing to accurately simulate what Mario's field of vision would look like while covered in the hearty secret sauce. So if Mario's bones were already being snapped and broken by the mushroom family, we now have his literal pigment being altered. I can't wait to see people canceling me over Rainbow Face. So I decided to take it upon myself to do some research, and by that I mean I shoved a prompt in the ChatGPT and had it educate me. I'm an adult, what the hell is free time? I found that octopuses or octopi, whatever, for example, have special skin cells called chromatophores that can open and close to show different colors. Now, if us wrinkly humans had those, we'd need to genetically modify our skin to grow these cells all over. Then, we'd have to control them with our brain or nerves. Kinda like flexing a muscle, or your dick. Want red skin? Fine, flex the red ones. Want camo? Flex a cool pattern. The problem is, our body would more than likely reject these cells, and this can cause the following. Inflammation and swelling. You'd probably get red, itchy, or swollen skin where the skin cells were added like a rash or worse. Cell death. The chromatophores would break down or stop working, meaning your body loses the ability to change color. Possible long-term damage. If the immune attack is strong, it might cause some scarring or permanent skin damage in those areas. So to be clear, Mario's cells would have to multiply, meaning he would literally gain cancer in the middle of having the star unless it's dishing out negative ions to kill free radicals, which would also cause cancer. If we were to throw the whole cancer thing out of the picture, Mario would still have to have his body, epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, and his skin cells too while using this power-up all change back all at once. Holy shit. And when you think it's all over, he would have to then have all this stripped away, right? Meaning he would have to have an extreme amount of bodily therapy to some scientific medical bullshit, and probably more than a couple habit-forming drugs to keep him all sane, all in the span of a millisecond. Alright, now that we're done with that, let's move to the cat suit that a large amount of disgusting fucking furries seem to love so much. Alright, listen, if I'm gonna be honest, no human should be walking on all fours like this, but I guess Mario has the spine and tendons of a Greek god. I mean, look at this scholastic gymnastic motherfucker. He's dive bombing like he's Ray Lewis. Or R. Kelly when he sees an underage girl. One thing I am also incredibly curious about is how he somehow, in some way, grew a massive amount of hair on his body minus the face. In a half-baked attempt to explain this, I ended up finding a medical condition called hypertrichosis. Hypertrichosis allows people to grow excessive amounts of hair all over. So, let's break it down real quick. When Mario touches a cat bell, it triggers a hyper-fast form of hypertri through a hormonal reaction. This bell hijacks his brain, starts flooding his body with a shit ton of growth hormones like a second chance at puberty. And if it wasn't already bad enough, it also forces hair follicles to activate at once, and not just one, not just two, not just three, all of them. He grows a full fursuit in under 2 seconds, which causes excruciating pain from hair bursting through skin like needles, muscle spasms and joint lockups, overheating and partial skin tearing, temporal feral instincts. I mean, dude, he literally thinks he's a cat for crying out loud. After the transformation, he suffers from chronic itching, massive hair shedding, and mild trauma and cat bell PTSD. Somebody needs to take this fucker's doctorate away for malpractice. Moving on to our next and probably last power-up, let's talk about the elephant fruit that may or may not contain unstable elephant DNA and a mutagenic virus. Imagine being at a nice dinner with homeboy here, just enjoying yourself, and the next thing you know, his body is ripping and tearing in front of you like a 7-foot man who's too angry to die. Alright, ladies and gentle fucks, let's go over the grotesque and downright questionable depictions of what this would look like if scientifically explained. Full skeleton shattering and regrowth to elephant size. Explosive muscle growth, tearing his body before leathery skin forms, a trunk bursting out of his face formed from nasal cartilage, tusks erupting through his jaw, often bleeding, a heart pumping so hard it sounds like a V8. Not to mention the sound effects, which is crippling pain from bone warping, chronic nose twitches and migraines, and last but not least, emotional numbness from the trauma. Anyways, if you guys want a part 2, just let me know in the comments down below. Also, I do respond to every single comment, so let me know what power-ups you'd like to see next, or just your general thoughts. I'll see you guys later, something. Bye.